Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanacharya Yamuna Tira Vanacharya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravrajagacharya Sata Shishi Mad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaura Premananda Hari Hari Bolo All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga and His Divine Grace. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vasudevaya. So we are reading from the 10th canto, chapter 66, and we're on text 26, correct? Ragya Kashi Pater Gyatva Mahishaha Putra Bandavaha Paurash Cha Ha Hata Rajan Natha Nateti Prarudan Ragya Kashi Pater Gyatva Mahisha Putra Bandavaha Paurascha Hata Rajan Nata Nateti Prarudan Ragya Kashi Pater Gyatva Mahisha Putra Bandava Paurascha Hata Rajan Nata Nateti Prarudan Ragyat Kashi Pater Gyatva Mahisha Putra Bandava Paurascha Hata Rajan Nata Nateti Prarudan. Pragyaha of the king, Kashipatahe, the Lord of Kashi, Gatva, recognizing, Mahishaha, his queens, Putra, his sons, Bandavaha, and other relatives, Pauraha, the citizens of the city, Cha, and Ha, alas, Hattaha, we are killed. Rajan, O King Parikshit. Nata, Nata, O Master, Master. Iti, thus. Prarudan, they cried out loud. So translation, my dear king, when they recognized it as the head of their king, the Lord of Kashi, his queens, sons, and other relatives, along with all the citizens of the city, began to cry pitifully, alas, we are killed. Oh, my Lord, my Lord. So you can repeat. My dear king, when they recognized it as the head of their king, the Lord of Kashi, his queens, sons, and other relatives, along with all the citizens of the city, began to cry pitifully, alas, we are killed. Oh, my Lord, my Lord. So Jiva Goswami briefly comments, they cried, we have also been killed, because it's not, and then Sanatana Goswami goes on to say that they recognized the head, and when they did, they cried out loudly because they were his queens. What did they say? O king, O our master, we have been killed. Out of grief, the queens cried. And so I'm going to read the next several verses. 27 and 28. Surakshinas tasya sutta kritva sangsta vidimbate nihatya pitrihantaram yasyam yapachitim pitu. Sorry. Ityatmana bishandaya sopatyayo maheshvaram sudakshinorjayam asa paramena samadhina. After the king's son, Sudakshina, had performed the obligatory funeral rituals for his father, he resolved within his mind, only by my killing my father's murderer can I avenge his death. Thus the charitable Sudakshina, together with his priest, began worshiping Lord Maheshvara with great attention. In purport, written by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada writes, the Lord of the kingdom of Kashi is Vishwanath, Lord Shiva. The temple of Lord Vishwanath is still existing in Varanasi, and many thousands of pilgrims still gather daily in that temple. And then Jiva Goswami comments that his son was similarly unintelligent. Along with his priest, he began worshiping Shiva with great concentration. And then Sanatana Goswami shares that Sudakshina was his name. Along with his priest, he began worshiping Shiva with great concentration. By deciding in this way himself, Atmana, since he was the main person with such bad thoughts, he worshipped Shiva. And then I'm going to do 29 as well. Prito vimukte bhagavams tasmai varam atad vibhu pitrihantrir vadopayam savavre varam ipshitam. Satisfied by the worship, the powerful Lord Shiva appeared in the sacred precinct of Vimukta and offered Sudakshina his choice of benedictions. The prince chose as his benedictions a means to slay his father's killer. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur shares that Shiva, Sudakshina, and the king's son, Shiva asked Sudakshina, the king's son, to choose a boon. And then Jiva Goswami shares that Shiva also called Avimukta was the presiding deity at the tirtha. Thus the place called Avimukta, the Vishnu Purana says, Avikute Mahekshetra Toshitas Tena Shankaraha. At Vimukta, Shiva became pleased with him. Because he was omniscient, Bhagavan, he gave a tricky benediction. The sun chose the boon of a method of killing him, not the boon of killing him. He had lost his intelligence at that time. And Sanatan Goswami shares that Shiva, also called Avimukta, was the presiding deity at the tirtha. Thus the place was called Avimukta. Vishnu Purana says it's basically the same thing, and became pleased with him. Or another version of Avimukta, the Lord called Avimukta was pleased with him, or the Lord being independent, Avimuktaha, controlled by his devotee, was pleased with him. Because he was affectionate to his devotee, Bhagavan, he gave a benediction. Or because he was omniscient, Bhagavan, knowing that opposite effect of his boon, Shiva gave the boon, because he was the best of devotees, Bhava instead of Vibhu. Or because he was omniscient, he gave a tricky boon, acting against persons inimical to brahmanas. He gave a method of killing only, but not the actual killing. So Omagana Timirandasha Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. As I was reading through this, I was thinking, instead of or, maybe it should be and, because Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shiva, because he was omniscient, he knows what's going to happen. He knows that it's going to be the opposite effect. And he gave a tricky boon, and he gave this boon knowing that the boon was meant to act against a person's inimical to brahmanas, but it ended up having the opposite effect. And so I was thinking about this loss of intelligence, and that, this misdirected consciousness, this misdirected motives, and just thinking about and reading through this, how fortunate we are that Prabhupada brought us all this knowledge and unpacked it for us. And not just unpacked it, but he gave unpacked it, to an atomic level, word for word, and the meaning of all those. And not only the meaning of all those, the transliterations, to give us understanding, so that we wouldn't be misdirected, so that we wouldn't make, these abominable choices that, and not just to correct us for correction's sake, but out of love. I hear that all the time, and all the pastimes, and everything I hear from all the disciples, and the dedication that I see through, for me, through my spiritual master's dedication to Srila Prabhupada, and I often ask myself, I'm like, why can't I be like that? Why can't I not dedicate myself to that so wholeheartedly, and still think of myself? And, it comes from a heart that's been touched by pure love. And you can see that in Prabhupada and all his disciples, and those that are serving him wholeheartedly, as it comes from this pure love. And it comes from this knowledge. And that's, this was what I was thinking in context to this lost knowledge, this self-aggrandizing, self-absorption, and how, that he must have been this way. It's just beyond any comprehension that he would think that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to get that far out, of being mentally imbalanced, because it is a mental imbalance. It's just insane to think that, and Prabhupada talks about that, that, was I listening, going through something, and he was talking about that, it's I know what it was, because I was connecting this all to Sahajism, and thinking that, you can have the pastimes and enjoy, and specifically with the sahajas, playing as the gopis and having these illicit affairs, but then not being able to lift Govardhan Hill. And that's the clarifying moment. I mean, okay, if you can go out there and lift Govardhan Hill with your pinky, then maybe not, you can have this opportunity. But otherwise, it's just delusion. It's misdirecting. And then I was thinking, what is it that causes us to lose, or someone to lose their intelligence to that level? And we hear in the Bhagavad Gita in 3:41 that the senses, the mind, and the intelligence are the sitting places of this lust. Through them, lust covers the real knowledge of the living entity and bewilders him. So this lust covers our senses, covers our mind, covers our intelligence. And then, and this is 340, and then 341, therefore, O Arjuna, best of the Bharatas, in the very beginning curb this great symbol of sin, lust, by regulating the senses, and slay this destroyer of knowledge and self-realization. So lust destroys our knowledge. Lust destroys the possibility of self-realization. So then our whole purpose in practicing Krishna consciousness is to become self-realized. And so by letting things like lust and anger and envy, and it's not that we have to walk out of the door and be perfect, because we're not, at least speaking for myself, I know I'm not. And, it's important to have the spiritual food, the spiritual association of the deities, the devotees, the Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu, so that we become stronger when we walk out the door to be able to perform our devotional service, with a Krishna conscious perspective and with a Krishna conscious intelligence and heart. It's so important to do that. And that requires a level of introspection and humility, and somebody, in his position thinking that he can be God obviously doesn't have any humility, and isn't being introspective. Those things are so key to us. And I think I go back to this all the time in thinking about the 10 offenses, and the 11th being basically the core, or what stimulates the other offenses is this inattentiveness, right? And this inattentiveness to detail and awareness, that's really so required, because it's really the root cause of the other offenses, and thinking about what's going to save us. And so we have this choice, as thinking of these extremes, and we're obviously somewhere in the middle, but of having this false pretense or false motive to do things, false ego pushing us, or the truth and purity, having truth and purity as our motive. And that's why we connect through the spiritual master, through the holy names, through association. Again, Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu is to develop this purity of heart so that we can be, a living example of what it means to be fully transparent and connected to Krishna without any personal ulterior motives. Unconditional love is what we're trying to reach. And seeing, and being able to see that even if somebody does have an ulterior motive, that they're covered and they're suffering. I just, again, I kind of go back, I guess because it's a personal situation. I keep going back to this whole situation with my father, who's maybe spoken to me once, after we've connected, like in May, and before that, like January, February. So within these last 9 to 10 months, I've spoken to him once, And, it's not about the table, which I know some of you have heard this, but, he got really upset with me because I gave a table to my niece to make sure that it stayed in the family. And so it was kind of weird. And so I won't go into all the details, but because of that and underlying things, because, he and his wife have this, as my sister said, ungodly or unholy attachment to material things. And she let him know that, that you're sacrificing your whole relationship with us over a table. And it's not that. There's other things underlying it. But the whole essence is, this unholy attachment to material things and how much it diverts us from personal relationships, right? And so it's the same for for us, is that if we have these attachments, these unholy attachments, these things that aren't sacred and pure, then they'll put more distance in between us and our relationship with Krishna. So even if we're struggling to get rid of those, because my spiritual master said many times, it's not, an offense to have these things, but it's an offense to not try to work on them, right? I mean, it's not, we may have these material desires, but recognizing it, is the first step. If you know AA, is the first step. Is like acknowledging that you have a problem is the first step in addressing it. And so just, being really introspective and taking it as an opportunity to purify yourself. And then that automatically took me to one of the first things I remember when I was first coming to Krishna consciousness. I had the wonderful opportunity of traveling with a devotee to California and spending 2 weeks with several devotees, Hridayananda Das Goswami. And I remember journaling in my book, and my journal, what Prabhupada said about books are the basis, purity is the force, preaching is the essence, and utility is the principle. And, that's the core, it's the whole nutshell of what devotional service is about and what we're trying to do. Obviously books are the basis because those give us the knowledge. Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu are what give us the knowledge, to be able to get out of this, loss of intelligence, this ignorance, and help others do the same. Because if you're starving and somebody gives you, this little bit of water and this little bit of food, and then you slowly start to heal yourself, if you see somebody else starving, why wouldn't you want them not to starve? That's compassion, and that's awakened through this knowledge. And then we have purity as the force. And so then, and I've really been trying to meditate on that, particularly lately, is that I really need to work on my own personal purity in order for me to be able to have any effectiveness in being able to share Krishna consciousness. Because to the degree into which I'm impure, it's going to impact my ability to reflect as a transparent medium, being transparent and unconditional and fully compassionate, depends on the level of my purity. And then we have, preaching is the essence. And I think of preaching because I grew up in the South, where we call it Bible thumping. It's like, shoving it down people's throats. You can't do that. They have to be willingly, lovingly accepting of what it is that you're trying to offer them, right? And so what I think of preaching is personal outreach, and which is the essence, which is what we practice. That's the whole reason we practice, is to have a personal relationship with Krishna. So why wouldn't we, in reaching out to people personally through preaching, make it personal? And we see that's really effective when somebody's really, understands that you're giving from your heart. You're not giving from your false ego. You're not trying to shove it down their throat just because it's the right thing. You're doing it because you actually really care. They know that, and that's what makes it personal.
And then utility is the principle, and I was thinking about this too, like what in the heck is utility? Because the first thing that comes to mind is what you pay every month. You pay your utilities. And so I went to the dictionary to look that up, and then, it talked about how, it is that it's like the general use of something. And so that made me think that simplicity is about, what utility is about simplicity, keeping things simple. But then utility is also a service, electric service. So then service is also utility. And that's what we're all about. We're about serving, serving others. And so that's the utility of this Krishna consciousness process, being the principle of this process is, simply serving in our devotional service and not making things so complicated that we really forget the purpose, and we forget the principle behind everything. It's really important to keep things simple. And as someone who struggles with ADHD, and, it's a bird syndrome, which is what a friend of mine calls it. Oh, it's a bird. And then, oh, it's a bird. And you'll go and you'll start one thing and you'll start another and you'll start another. And then you'll come back, oh, I started that. And then you'll just go through the cycle of, you get things done, but it's a wee bit disjointed. But, when you keep things simple, you keep your environment simple, you keep your mind simple, and simple and honest, then it makes things so much easier. The less you have, the less there is to take care of, and the more you can focus on Krishna, which is why we try to, keep our environment simple. And I think all of that's really super important, as we progress in our devotional life. And then, in thinking about this loss of intelligence and being introspective and all these other different things, then I was thinking how important it is to have a clear understanding of what's right and wrong, what action is and what inaction is, and how do we discern that? How do we, because obviously he was so misdirected in, thinking that he was God, that there was no feedback. If he had gotten some kind of feedback, like, this is a little bit weird that you're attaching arms to yourself, right? I mean, this is a little bit weird. I mean, all these things are a little bit strange. Maybe you need to think about that. Like, getting feedback is so important. And so then, one of my favorite verse, I have to say, is 434, which is just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. And to me, again, in this verse, I can even see how books are the basics, purity is the force, preaching the essence, and utility is the principle, because there's all this stuff about knowledge, of having the knowledge of the books, the purity of somebody who's realized, this knowledge, the preaching of going to him and allowing him to share that opportunity, and then the principle of service, that you serve him, submissively and humbly. That's really what submissively means, that you're willing to hear. It's not that you're just kowtowing and you're a yes man. Totally different. It means that you're willing to actually, that your ears are open, your heart are open, the avenue is open for you to be able to take in the information. And I just wanted to read the purport because I love reminding myself of all the things that Prabhupada shares about these different verses. The path of spiritual realization is undoubtedly difficult. The Lord therefore advises us to approach a bona fide spiritual master in the line of disciplic succession from the Lord himself. No one can be a bona fide spiritual master without following this principle of disciplic succession. The Lord is the original spiritual master, and a person in the disciplic succession can convey the message of the Lord as it is to his disciple. No one can be spiritually realized by manufacturing his own process. And I'm thinking again about him manufacturing this whole process of thinking he's God, and that he's got all his weapons that are totally inactive. I just imagine these paper cardboard cutouts painted with gold, and I'm thinking, and you're thinking, okay. So no one can be spiritually realized by manufacturing his own process as the fashion of the foolish pretenders. The Bhagavatam 6.3.19 says, Dharmam tu sakshad bhagavat pranitam. The path of religion is directly enunciated by the Lord. Therefore, mental speculation or dry arguments cannot help one to the right path, nor by independent study of books of knowledge can one progress in spiritual life. So we're codependent. We're codependent on our relationship with multiple things, the association of the devotees, the spiritual master, Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu, the holy names. One has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive the knowledge. Such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender, and one should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant without false prestige. So we're learning all these things. We do it not just to submit. We're doing it to learn how to be a servant, how to be humble. It's a learning process. So we should do it with an open and happy heart, not just, oh gosh, this is what I have to do. One has to, satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life, because if we please the spiritual master, we're pleasing Krishna. Inquiries and submission constitute the proper combination for spiritual understanding. Unless there is submission and service, inquiries from the learned spiritual master will not be effective. One must be able to pass the test of the spiritual master. And when he sees the genuine desire of the disciple, so that's the thing he's doing, is he's rooting out, and all these instructions that he gives us, even if they may be painful, even if they may be a little hard to hear, even if we're happy to hear them, he's stimulating the genuine desire in the disciple's heart to become the pure devotee, to become a servant, to become connected to Krishna, because he wants his disciple to be happy. He automatically blesses the disciple with genuine spiritual understanding. In this verse, blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. Not only should one submissively hear from the spiritual master, but one must also get a clear understanding in submission and service and inquiries. A bona fide spiritual master is by nature very kind to the disciple. Therefore, when the student is submissive and is always ready to render service, the reciprocation of knowledge and inquiries becomes perfect. So, and again, it's a progressive path. It's not just black and white all at once, multiple times. If you're like me, you have to learn the hard way. It kind of have to go through it multiple times. But, again, coming back to gaining this clear understanding and why we're doing what we're doing, which is something that my spiritual master constantly emphasizes, is remembering why, so it doesn't become rote, so it doesn't become impersonal, so that we don't become complacent, right? It's keeping it alive. That's what it's about. It's keeping it alive. And so it's so important, because I was thinking, this lost intelligence of knowing what to do, what not to do, being constantly on this razor's edge, because we can hit that razor, and we can get hurt, and we can slide off and go away from, the right path and from Krishna. So it's so important to constantly have this feedback through the spiritual master. But it's also a realized service, and that realized service, because I remember a conversation that was happening between Srila Prabhupada and some of his disciples, and he asked it multiple ways of how do you know that this process is actually working? And, of course, he said the taste is in the pudding, But, one of the things he said, because one of they're saying, because some were saying it's because of Guru Shastra and Sadhu, and then others, I think Gargamuni was the one who said, it's because you can taste it, right? Because there's some reciprocation, and it's actually both, because Prabhupada did what Lord Chaitanya did often, which was, counterpoint an argument with the negative, but then go back and validate that actual argument. And so he was doing that. So kind of coming back and rounding this up of just, I don't know, somehow I'm seeing, how, to be directed on this path and fully connecting to Krishna and reaching Krishna and understanding that the spiritual master is like the balancing rod that the trapeze artist carries, because he's walking on that fine line and sometimes over great heights with no net. And, and so he's got this balancing thing, and that's what the spiritual master is, just like he is the one who guides the boat through the storms in the ocean. He's the captain of the ship. But the whole time, we're chanting the Maha Mantra. And the Maha Mantra is what opens that gate to that path to Krishna. It's the one that, it's the, in a sense, it's the dakshin that you give to get on the boat to travel to Krishna. And so because it's everything, it's non-different than Krishna. It's the means to the end, it's the end result, it's everything. It's such a personal thing, it's such a personal thing. These holy names are so personal. And so then my question was to myself, how personal am I with the holy names? How personal am I making my relationship? I constantly ask myself this, of how personal I am in chanting the holy names. And I'm certainly inattentive. There's no doubt about it. But I keep going back to the fact is, like, if I really want to become more pure in my motive, more pure in my actions, more pure in my love and my compassion, I really need to develop the purity of my chanting. I really need to practice, trying to chant purely, with my full heart, because there is none different there, and Krishna's dancing on the tongue. So, that to me comes back down to this essence of trying to develop our purity so that we don't become these, and I would say that's not something that we necessarily have a problem with. I don't see that with any of you. I see you as all amazing devotees. But on maybe a metaphorical level of not, becoming these monstrosities of thinking that we're God, or redirecting, thinking that we're the controller in any situation, or enjoying in particular, because enjoying can be really dangerous, of redirecting us from who the real enjoyer is. So sorry, I didn't leave room for questions, time for questions. Anyway, all glories to Srimad Bhagavatam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the association of the devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Radha Golokananda. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I need it.
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Enam Kanvandam Aravinda Namasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Jami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Jami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakale Priya Priti Manti Vasyanti Panti Kayanti Giram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Amaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Amaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham
Thank you. Namamishwaram Satchit Anandarupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Prajamanam. Thank you. Yashoda Viyolukhaladavamanam Karam Bhujam Param Drishyam Achyanta Drutya Gopya Rudantamuhor netra yugmam rigantam Karamboja yugmena shatanka netram Shantam Karamboja shatanka Muhu swashakanta tire kanka kanta Stita daiva aram bhaktivadham Stita daivam Iti Driksalila Virananda Kunde Swagosham Nimajantam Akyapayantam Tadiyeshitageshu bhaktairjitatvam Puna prematastam shatavriti vande Varam deva moksham na mokshavadim va Nachanyam vineham vare shadapiha Idam teva purnata gopala balam Sada me manyasya virastam kimanyai Idam te mukambojam achantanilaya Vitam kuntalai snigdha raktaischa gopya Muhustum bitam bimbadataran me Manasya virastamalam lakshalabhai Namo Deva Damodarananta Vishnu Prasida Prabho Tukha Jalabdi Magnam Kripadristi Vistyati Dinam Bhatanu Grihanesha Mamagyame Jaksi Drishya Kuverat Majopada Murchaiva Yadvat Tvaya Mochito Bhakti Ocha Tata prema bhaktim svakame prayachta Namokshe graho Namo Namaste Studamne Spordadipti Damne Twadi Yodarayata Vishwasya Damne Namo Radhikayai Tvadiya Priyayai Namo Natalilaya Devaya Tubhyam Namo Radhikaya Twadya Piyaya. Namo Nanta Lilaya Devaya Tubhyam. Namo Radhikaya Twadya Piyaya. Namo Nanta Lilaya Devaya Tubhyam. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe. Jaya Radha Goloka Nanda Radha Goloka Nanda Radhe. Jaya Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan. To the Supreme Controller, who possesses an eternal form of blissful knowledge, whose glistening earrings swing to and fro, who manifested himself in Gokula, who stole the butter that the gopis kept hanging from the rafters of their storerooms, and who then quickly jumped up and ran in retreat in fear of Mother Yashoda, but was ultimately caught. To that Supreme Lord Sri Damodar, I offer my humble obeisances. Upon seeing his mother's whipping stick, he cried and rubbed his eyes again and again with his two lotus hands. His eyes were fearful and his breathing quick, and as Mother Yashoda bound his belly with ropes, he shivered in fright and his pearl necklace shook. To this Supreme Lord Sri Damodar, who is bound by his devotees' love, I offer my humble obeisances. Those super excellent pastimes of Lord Krishna's boyhood drown the inhabitants of Gokula in pools of ecstasy. To the devotees who are attracted only to his majestic aspect of Narayan in Vaikuntha, the Lord herein reveals, I am conquered and overwhelmed by pure loving devotion. To the Supreme Lord Damodar, my obeisances hundreds and hundreds of times. O Lord, although you are able to give all kinds of benedictions, I do not pray to you for liberation, nor eternal life in Vaikuntha, nor any other boon. My only prayer is that your childhood pastimes may constantly appear in my mind. O Lord, I do not even want to know your feature of Paramatma. I simply wish that your childhood pastimes may ever be enacted in my heart. O Lord, the cheeks of your blackish lotus face, which is encircled with locks of curling hair, have become ridden like bimber fruit, Mother Yashoda's kisses. What more can I describe than this? Millions of opulences are of no constantly remain in my mind. O unlimited Vishnu, O Master, O Lord, be pleased upon me. I am drowning in an ocean of sorrow and am almost like a dead man. Please thou shower the rain of mercy upon me, uplift me and protect me with your nectarian vision. O Lord Damodar, in your form as a baby, Mother Yashoda bound you to a grinding stone with a rope for tying cows. You then freed the sons of Kuvera, Mani, Griva, and Nala Kuvera, who were cursed to stand as trees, and you gave them the chance to become your devotees. Please bless me in the same way. I have no desire for liberation into your effulgence. O Lord, the entire universe was created by Lord Brahma, who was born from your abdomen, which was bound with a rope by Mother Yashoda. To this rope I offer my humble obeisances. I offer my obeisances to your most beloved Srimati Radharani and to your unlimited pastime. Shri Shri Radha Damodar Ki Jai.
Harinam Sankirtan is on Friday in Durham at 5 Points, so please come. This is a different crowd. They're all, it's kind of the restaurant bar hopping crowd, so it's an interesting mix. So please come, and it's going to be a really, really nice evening, so it'll be nice for Harinam. Chaito Darpanam Marjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirmapinam Shreya Taranam. We don't want to get sick. Huh? Hare Krishna. Saranam Sarvatma Snapanam Harijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahudan Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapitani Amitasmaranena Kala Etadrishita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrishami Hajjanina Nuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Suhishuna Aman